Hello and welcome to Dungeoneered, a podcast dedicated to discussing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Josh.
Let's do this. Quick question before we start, Josh. Can you hear the dogs barking in the background, or are we good?
No, I can't hear the dogs barking in the background.
Okay,
but
good.
That does remind me of something else I wanted to say to any listeners. We are recording this in America on the 4th of July. So,
yes,
behind one of our recordings, there might be explosions. That's what is going on.
Big booms, loud cheers in America.
I'll try to edit it out as best I can, but we'll see.
And for the 4th of July, we need the celebratory wee. I mean, that's.
I could not hear that. That was really bad.
I gotta do that.
You gotta try it again because that didn't work. That was bad. I couldn't.
You couldn't hear it? I was trying to do it so it wasn't so loud that it blows everybody's ears out.
No,
that's the only way to really do it properly.
Do it properly. And just move back from your mic. Just move back from your mic.
Yeah, but if I'm...
Oh, if your bird hears it. Yeah.
Well, no, she's in a different room, so that's not a problem. I can totally do the full-blown, country call, but, it's just...
I feel like you're cowering out now.
I am cowering out. Do you want me to do the full blown? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I do.
You want to hear? You want to hear the call of my people?
Move back from the mic and do the call of your people.
Here we go. Call of my people has been achieved. Anyways, my topic for the Lukewarm Open
distortion and cut out half of it for me, but I'm sure the recording got it great.
Mine looks like it does. It's pretty loud though, but I think we're good. But my topic for this week has a little bit to do with 4th of July, and I had a little bit of a few topics I wanted to discuss, all kind of related to the same thing. First and foremost is, do you have guns in your world? Like
my
boom, boom, bang,
world?
bang. Yeah.
Yeah, so my current world, as I said, is a post-apocalypse, and there is people in it that are trying to make sure the apocalypse happens every so often before the thing that they're trying to destroy gets too powerful again. So every so often they just destroy this world. So they have agents that are working on the surface, and those agents have some advanced technologies like guns. So one of the characters is playing one of these future agents that forgot that had something happened to them, and they forgot all of what they were supposed to do. So they have.
Does he have a
guns.
pew-pew machine?
Yeah, he has 2 guns, and he has proficiency in tinkerer's tools, and so he's literally playing the subclass by Matthew Mercer for fighter called Gunslinger.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and so he's going to eventually he's going to find stuff to make rifles and make other things. Oh, this is really funny. So he did just upgrade one of his pistols to this rifle, and this rifle requires you to reload every time, so you can only really do one shot if you don't want to use another action to load it again.
Yeah,
but it does. I believe it's 3d6.
Oof, and that's a lot.
Well, yeah, it's leveled with what level they are and whatnot. It's as if casting a first level spell pretty much. But so what he did is he threw a bunch of the class's abilities on it to kind of like a battle master where you throw something on it and you get to do another damage die and whatnot. And so he was it was 5 or 6 d6 that he was gonna do in damage. He rolls and he misfires. So it not only breaks the gun,
oh no,
but it wastes every single thing that he threw on the attack, and it was just no.
That's so sad. I hate it when that happens.
Yeah,
that's so sad.
Yeah, it was.
That's the worst thing to happen in D&D, when you have something big and cool planned, and then you just fail miserably because your dice rolls are terrible.
Yeah,
it's the worst. But I was also thinking on the lines of guns and gunpowder. I know kind of guns and gunpowder are I don't know, a controversial topic? Is that a hot take, a controversial topic?
What do you mean?
Because I personally hate guns and black powder in fantasy worlds. I don't like my D&D campaign settings. I like them to be exclusively knights and spears.
See,
and
I think that's a I think that is a controversial topic where some people like it, other people don't. But what I have my ruling on it or idea for it is it has to make sense. If it's just putting a gun in to have a gun in the game, it's not fun. If it's like,
Yeah.
this makes sense, this is a part of like the world and the lore behind it, like my guns come literally from outer space. Like the world used to be advanced enough to have these guns, but it's just not anymore. This apocalypse has put them behind that, and all advanced technologies have been removed from the surface, or at least as best as they can, because they don't want the thing that they're keeping on the planet to escape.
Yeah,
or
no,
learn
totally.
These advanced technologies, so it's built in.
Yeah, I mean, I know for a long time in history, like guns and swords and spears and stuff were all used around the same time. But like, I like the era of, I mean, the furthest I go is like a Chinese firework type thing. Speaking of the 4th of July, like a Chinese firework type thing is as far as I like to go. Maybe even like a barrel of gunpowder. Like nobody knows what to do with it, but you could like blow it up. But like they know how to make it, but they don't really, shoot projectiles out of guns or anything like that. Like it's just kind of like shoot it in the sky and it blows up and it's cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of as far as I go. But the full topic that I want to talk about, which has to relate to this, is alchemy. Do you have any special alchemy table that you run? Do you do anything weird with alchemy? Because there's a few things in D&D that I love. One is halflings, one is flesh mounds, and the other is alchemy.
Okay, interesting. Well, I don't have anything particularly involving alchemy. Now, I am... Are you, by alchemy, do you mean like Full Metal Alchemist alchemy, which I don't think is what you're talking about? I think you're more talking about
No, I'm talking about,
potions and things like that.
I've always wanted a cool potion system, but I just have never found one that I think is cool.
This is a story from one of my players. They've been playing a very long time. Like, since 1st or 2nd edition. Like, very long time.
Yeah, way back in the day.
Yeah, one of their DMs, the way that they limited players just chugging every single potion and just becoming super powerful for a fight, what they did was they had, if you drink multiple potions, those potions are mixing in your stomach. And so there are rules already in D&D for mixing magical potions and what happens. Does it make one stronger?
Like
Does it make
explode or something?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff. And so this is happening in your stomach now, which just sounds incredibly harsh to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what, you drink a healing potion and like a fire breath potion and all of a sudden you have like the world's worst gas or
yeah. So it's stuff like that. There was like a whole wild magic table pretty much for what happens when you drink 2 potions.
Interesting. I like that idea though. That's kind of fun though.
But it could be really harsh if you're not like...
It could be. Yeah, you'd have to be pretty careful with that.
Certain players would not have fun with that, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. But I think Dungeons and Dragons, at least that I'm aware of, doesn't have good rules for alchemy or even like forging or... I mean, it has some enchantment stuff, right?
Any tool proficiency, it doesn't have good rules for.
It's just like, I mean, alchemy is like, it's such a cool... Do they have an alchemist class, a subclass? Don't they? Maybe?
I mean, artificer.
Because, I mean, there is so much potential to even make an entire class around alchemy, like potion makers and like potions for damage, potions for defense.
Have like 3 versions. Like one is like a gunslinger, one is like a magic creator of magic items, and then the last one is an alchemist. And I believe
it's just like...
one of my players is that as well.
Oh, there's just so much potential there that I don't ever see used. Like, you could make some really cool potion stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of players don't like potions, especially like buff potions, because it's like instead of a cool magic item, you get a 1-use potion that gives you, 20 strength or whatever, for a minute. But I think there could be a lot of cool uses for potions. I just haven't found a way to like do it that I enjoy, that I think is cool. I used to like make all the ingredients and come up with cool names for ingredients and then like make combinations so that you can make potions, and you would have to experiment to see what each one does when they're mixed together. But it's just my players were never interested in alchemical ingredients. So it's just hard to do.
Yeah, I try to work with when a player wants something or begins to invest in something as a skill they want to have as their player, I try to make it more interesting than what the game has. So build some more role-playing elements into it and more skill checks and things to do it well versus doing it bad and things like that.
Yeah. I mean, one of my characters was super into making potions, but it wasn't like when I mean super into making potions, like they were making them all the time, but it wasn't like I didn't make it interesting. It was just like, oh, you roll an alchemy check. You have 2 ingredients that you combine that make a cool potion. You know, you have enough ingredients to make 2 health potions type thing, you know? Like it wasn't, if you roll really good, maybe 3.
Yeah, I remember I was in your world and I was the wizard necromancer, which fun stories with that. But we were on like a riverbank trying to cross into like this tall grass area where it would kind of visibility would be terrible, and we found like a bunch of this resource for that could make health potions with, and so we did a little bit of it in your world.
Yeah. I have a huge list of ingredients that I've made and stuff like that, but I just can't find a way to make it not. I get, you know, mushroom and wheat, and I roll a 17, and now I have a potion. You know, like I don't know what to do outside of that. Anyways, that was my lukewarm open, though.
Well, maybe we work on that next week. Maybe we try to figure that out as our next
do an alchemy system. I mean, I would love to. I think that'd be really fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to jump into our topic because I do have a lot written this week, I think.
Let's do it.
So, during our episode last week, Aaron, you said you wanted to create a cult. So this week, I tried to remember every cult that I could in media and trying to find one to do as a topic.
Yes! Oh, I love this topic so much. I'm hype.
My brain decided to die and was unable to think of literally any cult from any sort of thing. So I literally searched on the internet for cults in media and entertainment. And eventually it jump-started my brain enough to remember a weird little cult found in Fallout 3. But the history of them stretches all the way back to the original Fallout.
I know these people. I have to know these people. Come on.
This group is called the Treeminders.
Oh, wait, what?
Originally...
I know these guys. No, I know these guys.
Yes, you do. And now that you see the images, you'll remember who it is.
Yep, absolutely.
This group's originally just a ghost story like we talked about last week, but they aren't evil like most cults that you think about in media. For this cult is just a secretive group of like hippies living in the only known green forest in the wasteland of Washington, D.C. But I'm going to start off on a beautiful tangent about one of the members of the Treeminders. So, for now, we're going to talk about Harold. Now, Harold survived the Great War that created the wastelands out of the former United States by residing in a vault. Now, another tangent here for those who have never touched a Fallout game. In Fallout, the company that created the vaults, or at least the majority of them, was called Vault-Tec. And Vault-Tec had ideas for space travel and kind of finding the limits of humans, which they did in a very unethical way. They had people pay to live safely inside these vaults, should any disaster come. But when they got locked in during the nuclear apocalypse, they began testing on each and every one of these vaults. Each of these vaults had different tests that they were running, and they kept it a secret from the occupants. Only the Vault-Tec employees knew the testing was happening and were keeping the notes on it.
Can we stop there for a second? How messed up is that?
Oh, it's horrible.
How messed up is that?
Horrible, and it's so it's such an interesting story. Because
it's such a cool
some
concept.
of those vaults that you go into, like I would love to just do an episode where I just talk about the weird experiments in different vaults because they were so weird and so great. One of the vaults, they took the greatest musical minds, like just artists of all types, and just put them into this vault. And what they did is they played this kind of like white noise constantly. And the white noise had these subliminal messages trying to make them turn into the greatest, like, super soldiers possible.
Yeah, I remember this one.
Yeah, and they all just have these weird things that they're doing, and it's really interesting.
There's so many cool vaults, and Harold
was in Vault 29, and the war happened when he was only 5 years old. This vault was full
Just a wee
of
lad.
was full of young children separated from their parents. This vault was ruled by a computer that held a human scientist's mind that merged with it. When the kids got rowdy and began to threaten rebellion or just anything that this researcher didn't want, she would simply put together a team to check if the outside was safe, but they would never return.
Oh, rip.
It turns out that these kids were actually being told the truth of the vault, and they had the decision to either meld with the computer or be conditioned to never talk about the vault and forced to leave. This was the situation Harold was in, and he left when he was 18 years old, and he began to make his fortune in this new wasteland as a trader. He was in California, and one of the major locations of California is called The Hub, and he made his home there as a successful trader. As a well-known member of The Hub, when the area became increasingly dangerous, he had to deal with it. He paid for an expedition to check it out and deal with it. And in the end, the only two to survive this expedition were him and a doctor from the Hub named Dr. Richard Gray. But
Am I supposed to know who Dr. Richard Gray is?
Not unless you played the first Fallout.
Yeah, I never did.
I mean, I think he's mentioned in nearly every other Fallout, but they were both infected with a cellular manipulation serum called the FEV. Dr. Richard Gray became known as the Master and was the big bad evil guy of Fallout 1. But Harold woke up after being knocked unconscious in the enemy base and woke up in the wasteland, mid-mutation by the FEV.
Awkward.
Yeah, it's not a great situation to wake up in. He was found a few days later by traders and was taken back to the Hub. He had become what the world saw as a monster, and quickly his business fell apart as business partners stayed away, and unable to get work, he quickly became a beggar in the old section of the Hub called Old Town.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
He was super successful, and then he had an expedition to try to save everybody, to like, hey, let's stop this horrible thing that's going on. And
he got mutated.
The world screws him for it.
Yeah, and now everybody doesn't like him because he's mutated.
Yep, that's the situation.
That's how life goes sometimes, Sometimes you just wake up and you're mutated, in the wasteland. It's just how it works sometimes.
Now, for anybody who played Fallout 1, you will recognize the name The Master. As I said, he's the main villain.
Did you ever play the first Fallout?
Not yet. I'm planning on it, though. The one I played...
I feel like it's going to be a Morrowind problem.
No, it's actually really interesting. The old Fallout that I played...
Oh, aren't they like tactical games?
No, they weren't. There were
was that
one
Fallout
or two.
Arena?
No, there's one called Fallout Tactics. That's the tactic game.
Yeah.
But there's also one called Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, which is not like an RPG like the others were. And that's the only one I've actually been able to play. And everybody's like, oh, it was terrible. And so I'm like, oh, okay, that explains why I didn't like it very much. I mean, it was interesting. It was like a dungeon crawler where you have to prepare and get your stuff, then go through this long, frankly boring dungeon and gather supplies and finish missions down there and then come back up. And
the classic dungeon crawl problem. Dungeons are boring.
So in Discord, I posted a picture of the Master, Aaron, and anybody who wants to see a freaky monster should look it up. He's like a pile of flesh with a computer wrapped around a computer.
That's so creepy looking.
Yeah. And he repeats himself, and he talks in a million different voices. You have to just look up a voice line of this creature. It's amazing. But so that was Richard Gray, and this is Harold. So he was quickly, so he became a beggar in Old Town. But as the time went on, he found himself continuing to live, seemingly having a longer lifespan than he normally should. And he began to take a name for himself as a sort of information broker, since he knew so much about the world and the areas around the hub from his many years of living. And this is where you meet him in the original Fallout. Soon, though, a small sapling springs out of Harold's head, and he takes to calling it Bob. He travels around the wasteland and meets the characters in every game of Fallout, And slowly you see the sapling grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Until Fallout 3, with the Treeminders.
Yes.
Bob the sapling has now overgrown Harold and stuck him in the ground in a small hidden camp. Slowly, as Harold was stuck there, more trees began to sprout around, all seemingly connected to Bob under the ground. And in the wasteland, this greenery was shocking, and slowly people began to find it and talk to Harold as he's stuck there. The people who were the most taken with him and this place began to see him as a god, specifically the leader and founder of the Treeminders, who changed his name to Birch. He knew people might seek to do harm to Harold, so he created the Treeminders as protectors of Harold and Bob. As these Treeminders came into being, they protected Harold, calling him the Great One, as he continued to grow and spread the forest. Animals came, seeing it as a refuge as well. Bob actually began to spread Harold so much that he pushed Harold's organs out throughout a cave system underneath the location that they were beginning to call Oasis.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
Yep.
Just your organs spread throughout a cave.
Yep. Earlier on, I mentioned that there were ghost stories, and they kind of are, as in Fallout 3, there's a radio station called Galaxy News Radio, hosted by an NPC called Three Dog. Three Dog has many fun voice lines about what you do throughout the game to insights into a place that you could go throughout the world. And about Oasis, he says, "Now here's a question for all you faithful listeners. Have you guys and gals ever seen..."
Wait. You gotta stop. You gotta do it in his voice.
I thought about it, but I thought that might be bad. So I'll try. Now here's a question for all you listeners. No, wow, that was Southern. What am I doing? I can't even do this.
So bad.
I'm going to be honest. I practice it in Three Dog's voice because that's how it sounds in my head, but I cannot seem to copy it right now.
It's okay. I forgive you for now.
Now here's a question for all you faithful listeners. Have you guys and gals ever seen a tree? No, not that shriveled black thing. I'm talking real trees. Brown bark, green leaves, photosynthesis, all that good stuff. Now, what if I, the all-powerful Three Dog, were to tell you that somewhere right here in the capital wasteland, there's a place with lots of trees, a veritable oasis of green in that depressing sea of brown? Look, it was years ago, and I may have been experimenting with Jet at the time, but I'm telling you, it's out there. And so they entice you with these stories on the radio, and that was the one about Oasis, and it was great. Now,
so
Harold,
good.
Yeah. Now, Harold, being a person like any of us, got bored, just forced to stay in the same location forever, and he begs for death. But this cult of Treeminders is so infatuated with him and the benefits of the trees and restoring life that they delude themselves into thinking that what he says is some sort of riddle for them, like a religious test. Harold will tell the players that the Treeminders listen when I talk, but they don't hear. Soon a schism begins to form among the Treeminders as two ideas begin to spread amongst them. The first idea is that they want to keep Harold and Bob's influence secluded in their secretive home, believing that spreading it out will eventually lead to it being exploited and destroyed. While the other idea believed that the growth should be enhanced and allowed to spread throughout the whole area. They calculated that within a mere decade, Harold would be able to spread across the whole Washington, D.C. wasteland and restore it with nature. This is where the player comes in. You, as the player, decide what happens. You can kill Harold, stop the growth, or accelerate the growth, which is an incredible moral quandary in the game, because the amount of good that can come from spreading Harold and allowing nature to return to much of the world is astoundingly good. But Harold as a person is stuck and forced to exist in a way that he doesn't want to, and by forcing him to keep on living, you are pretty much torturing him. It's such a good quest, and it's great to talk to everybody and just see their side of the story and what they want.
Yeah, it gives me back memories.
Yeah. Now, in the same way the Treeminders misinterpret Harold's pleas for death, they also misinterpret much of what he says. taking whatever he says as some grandiose riddle to be pondered by his followers. His control of this cult stretches only to choosing who they allow in, for most people are turned away at the door unless Harold believes they have something of value to him or the Treeminders, because ultimately he appreciates what they're doing in keeping him safe and providing him company. Now, the Treeminders don't engage with the technology of the world. The only things that they really engage with are limited firearms use, because they realize it's a necessity in this dangerous wasteland. Now, that is the story of the Treeminders as they defend and protect Harold and Bob.
So good.
It is so good. And I think it was a beautiful, interesting payoff for this years and years of putting Harold in all their games.
I mean, honestly, Fallout 3 was such a good game. Hot take.
I don't know. It's not a hot take. We've talked about this before.
So
the two
good.
best Fallout games are Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3.
Everybody
agrees
no,
that's
you
one
know
of them.
what?
Everybody
Get
agrees
out
that
of
it's one
here.
them.
So we gonna make our own cult now? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. And I love
All
this
right.
idea about somehow the leader of the cult, or like the thing that they're obsessed with, they don't listen to. I love that. I love that this thing is just forced to have this cult worship them. And that's just really interesting to me.
Wait. So you want like a, I mean, obviously similar to what we just talked about, but you want like a cult where the deity doesn't listen to them, or they don't listen to the deity, or whatever they're worshiping?
They don't listen to whatever they're worshiping. Like it says, like, Harold, kill me, please. I don't want to live anymore. And they're just like, ooh, this must be some, like, they misinterpret what the thing says. I just love that as a thing in the world, as a storyline.
Yeah. No, me too. Okay. So, what do we want to do? Any ideas? Anything interesting that you're thinking about?
I think the first thing to think about is, how big is this cult? Do we want it to be like a major mover and shaker in a nation? Do we want it to be really small and secluded, like a small monastery somewhere? Like, what are you thinking on that scale?
I like either or, to be honest. They both have good benefits. If we're going for, so
I'm more like the health insurance on the
okay. Get out of here.
You said you like the benefits of both, but I just wanted to say the health insurance on one was better than the other.
Get out of here. No, yeah, they have a good dental plan too. Okay.
Yeah, dental plan, exactly.
Yeah. I hate it. Anyways, so if we make it big, what would be the reason for it being big? Do we want it evil? Do we want it good? I guess that's another question.
So when I say big, that I was thinking like, as I said, a major mover and shaker in a nation. Like, if like the nation had like three pillars of what rules them, it's like the king, this cult, and then like the military. Like maybe it has like a triforce of governmental power, and they're like a major pillar of it. Like, one of the other topics I researched this week, because I was thinking they might be something we do, is they're called the Abbey of the Everyman, and they're this cult that is like now like a major member of almost like a civilian militia within the Dishonored series.
Yeah. So I have the biggest cult in my world, for just like a little bit of a reference, I guess, is called the Burning Brand. Do you know them? You must know them. Do you know the Burning Brand? Have I told you about them?
You've talked about them, yes.
Yeah, so they worship an entity called the Ashen King, who is an ancient old deity that no longer exists. Well, he does exist, but he was sealed away as the ancient, a long time ago. So, which your characters already know, so there's not a spoiler. But they worshipped him, and essentially, I mean, we're trying to bring him back, like classic cult stuff. And they were ruled by one of my favorite characters I've ever made. They were ruled by a essentially a bandit king, and he rode on a giant boar with like almost like with like a razor wire that ran in between the tusks. So he'd like trample people and cut them with his razor wire. He was like a really brutal dude. So I kind of want to make like a bandit, like a brutal bandit cult. That like are a perversion of something bigger. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So going along the lines that you were thinking about, like they have perverted something that the thing they worship no longer listens to them because they perverted it.
Okay, well, what I immediately thought of when you said bandit group, I was thinking the leader of them, like the thing that they are having their cultish behaviors towards, is like a fallen angel. That like maybe that this fallen angel, their whole thing is they want to go back to heaven, but they are stuck down here, and maybe they're mute and blind, or they have like some sort of thing so that they give these commands based on what the people tell them, but they end up doing these horrible things, and this fallen angel doesn't know or doesn't learn till like the party tells them, maybe even.
Okay. So
maybe
like
it's like one of those ones that have like the wrapping around their eyes.
Yeah, I love that aesthetic. One of my favorite quest lines in Oblivion with the moth priests, I think is what they're called. The moth priests, Elder Scrolls, where they're like blind. They have like cloths around their heads, but they use like you don't remember the moth priests? Oh,
I mean, I just started replaying Oblivion, and I don't remember the moth priests.
They're in the Thieves Guild quest line, so if you're doing the Thieves Guild quest line, you'll run into them. But I think they're in Skyrim too, actually. They're the one of the moth priests reads you the Oblivion scroll, I believe. I don't know if he's blind though.
Yeah, I was gonna say the ones that I'm seeing on here there's like one or two that are blind, the rest are not. Oh, okay, wait. So if they're the ones who read the Elder Scrolls makes you go blind, so that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So they like, they're awesome. They're super cool. But yeah, I love that
duty
aesthetic.
Is to study the Elder Scrolls. The priests study and discern the scrolls in order to divine the future and use the knowledge to aid the Emperor.
What if we cheat off of that? What if we take something off of that? Like they some sort of ancient text or some sort of divine being that if you see it you become blind or something like that, and the leader of this cult has seen it and they've become blind, and then like because they've seen it they've kind of become mad a little bit. I kind of like that idea.
Okay, what I was thinking, what my idea was, it's playing off this. So I think it's something like the Elder Scrolls where you look at this scroll of holy text, and I think what it is if you have any like sinful emotion that rules you, you become blinded with that. So some people are blinded by their fury, other people are blinded by, and it kind of accentuates whatever horrible thing was in them, because what it did was it overpowered them in this moment. And so this evil that was inside them overpowers them. And so maybe like all the high-ranking members look at this thing and are overcome by whatever thing is. They think they're worshiping it because it, quotation marks, makes them stronger, but it actually just makes their evil ambition or whatever go mad.
Okay.
Dials it up to 11.
Interesting.
Maybe it kills their good side or something because they see it and their impurities burn away.
All right, what if we do like a cult of like pleasures type thing, or like 7 deadly sins type thing, where they end up focusing heavily on like one of like lust or greed or pride, and so they have these weird like subsections in their cult that are focused
based on what
yeah,
when you are blinded, what your thing is.
Yes.
And so maybe they're almost like this part of the bandit group looks like Slanesh. Like if anybody knows Warhammer. Exactly. Like they each have their thing, and it's all like a bastardization of whatever it is. Ooh, if you're looking for really good ideas of like 7 deadly sins, like interesting bandit captains or whatever. In the oh gosh, what is it? Dead Rising series. That's what it is. In the Dead Rising series, all the bad guys, like the boss battles, each one is a different 7 deadly sin. And so they're all really interesting
cool.
on what their 7 deadly sin thing is. Like, you fight one of gluttony and one of like, it's really interesting.
That's super cool. Yeah, my favorite bandit king in any video game ever of all time is the first Fable. The first bandit king that you fight.
Oh, yeah.
I love
That's the
him.
one that has...
Twin Blade. I think his name is Twin Blade.
Okay, well, what I'm thinking of is the one that has your sister.
Yeah, no, that one. It's not Twin Blade. It's definitely not Twin Blade.
Yeah. I was like, I think that's farther along.
No, it is Twin Blade.
Okay.
Wait, maybe it's not. Now I have to know.
I'm literally looking up Twin Blade right now. I think you might be right. It looks right. The notorious bandit king that all grew up.
Yeah, he's like an ex-hero, and he
yes, he's an ex-hero.
Essentially becomes a bandit. It has the Twin Blades bandit camp. He's awesome. I love him. He's such a cool character. I love that game. That's another good game. Man, we've talked about a lot of games.
We do. I mean, yeah.
So no, I like this idea. I like this idea of like one head, like leader of the cult, and I think I like the idea of him embodying like all the 7 deadly sins, and then under him are 7 like leaders that represent their own their own sin, and they have their own like little subgroups.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really fun concept. Now, what is this group doing? What are they trying to do then? So we have like their basic concept, like 7 deadly sins. What are they trying to do?
I'm thinking like, restore the world to like I think
a more primal state.
Yeah, they're thinking the world has become too civilized, and they hide the like. It's I think they believe they their whole thing is that the world is just as cruel and terrible and sinful as it always was, and they think that by hiding that sin and not just having it outright is like even more sinful. And so they want a world where sins are blatant and obvious. Like, people are like, you engage in your vice openly.
Yeah. I like that, but I think, yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of that they'd be doing is trying to like make everybody succumb to their lusts, their desires, and their pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that accomplish for them?
Yeah, that's the part I'm having
like, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't really do a whole lot for them. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I guess it makes it so that they can live out in the open easier.
Well, maybe
Unless
they just have like maybe they have just more basic kind of goals. Maybe it doesn't need to be some big change the whole world. Maybe they just want to rule over, like they want their own nation.
Yeah, I was thinking tear down a nation, like a structure, like a nation structure that they're trying to tear down.
Yeah, they want to take over.
So that they can have their own nation of these, the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. So then, okay, how did this come about? How did whoever this leader is, how did he get like involved in this? What happened to him?
I think it was a hag. I was like hags.
A hag?
So I think a hag.
A lusty hag?
No, I was not meaning it. No, it was a lusty Argonian maid. Thank you very much. But no. No,
it's a good book if you ever read it.
It's not. It's not a book, dude. It's a play. The Lusty Argonian Maid is a play, and it has like 22 acts. And
you can read the whole thing, can't you?
You can 100%. Yeah. And well, it's in all the Elder Scrolls games. I think the first one it was in Morrowind.
Yeah, I only remember the one in Skyrim because the people in the inn are like all obsessed with the Lusty Argonian Maid.
Yeah. But so what I'm thinking is the hag now I kind of don't want it to be a hag. Now that I'm thinking about this, I'm like, I want
I
them to
keep
come
getting
across
stuck on the
this-
lusty hag, and I can't get over it.
Okay, now I have a different idea, which I think so he was grave robbing. So he was like he was like really poor and really weak as well, and he was like a grave robber. Like one of the most despicable kind of things you can do is just rob these graves. And so one of the things that he did was he eventually like cleared out a whole town, like went through all their grave sites and was like, I didn't find anything. He sees a giant manor while he's traveling and is like, oh, let's see if they have a graveyard. They do. That night, he opens up one of the oldest graves that they have. Like it's in like a mausoleum, like this whole thing, this whole structure. He removes one of the stone tops of one of these. I can't words right now. One of these caskets. That's the word. And in it, he sees this old, now long decayed body that is holding this scroll. He pulls it out, and that night, after gathering all of his stuff, he opens it, and it's this like Elder Scrolls like thing that makes him go blind and makes his lust for power more powerful.
Okay, I like the base concept of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I want to add a dash of goodness in this. And what I'm thinking is the nation this guy was a part of was destroyed and taken over by the current nation that's there. Mm-hmm. He was a corpse robber of one of the battlefields. Okay? So he's like after one of the huge massive battles, he's robbing corpses for money, for weapons,
just to get whatever.
Like
maybe he probably had let's have him have a family, so he has like like people will so he has to do this to feed his children.
Yeah, and so what I'm thinking is
but
where the dash of goodness comes in is he sees these horrible battlefields and destructions, and he somehow, I don't know how I want to do this yet, but has this revelation that if everybody were just to follow their base pleasantries and lusts and desires, that none of this would happen. Everybody would agree and be able to live in harmony. And there would be no war because everybody's pursuing drugs. Like everybody's pursuing these same base primal desires.
I think it's like if we all pursue what makes us happy, there wouldn't be war. If we're
like if we pursue what is pleasurable to us. Because I like the word pleasure more than I like happy. Because it seems more sinister, Mm-hmm. Like it gives it a little bit more oomph to the word. So like whatever makes you pleasurable, if everybody were to seek their base pleasures and desires, there wouldn't be a problem with this. Like there wouldn't be a problem with this type of slaughter and disaster. Mm-hmm. And so what he does is he forms this cult. And I'm thinking at the start of this cult, his family like leaves him because he's fallen so deep into it. And so it like turns him into this mad.
Hold on. When does he get the Elder Scrolls like item?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I,
because I kind of wanted him to have that, and that was so maybe it was just like a loose idea that he had. The scroll is what makes him act on it, and what I want is I want him to maybe even forcefully like show it to his daughter. And so she joins him on this journey. And so maybe even though he loses his family, like you said, his daughter is still with him. And she's like his second in command.
I think two things. I think I like son better for this than daughter. Because I like the idea of father teaching son war. Because essentially they have to fight in order to get what they need, which is somewhat contrary to what he believes, which is I think is really interesting because he has this, if everybody were to follow these base pleasures and have these base morals and laws, I guess not morals, but these base ideas that nobody would fight. But the problem is nobody accepts these ideas, these things that are only revealed to him, like these things that he is only seen and become enlightened by. And then of course his followers have also become enlightened by them. And so like he is passing down to his son these things as well. So his son is like the second in command, like evil general guy too. I like that. I think I like that idea a lot. The rest of his family, I like the idea of them leaving, because they've gone insane. I mean, not necessarily insane, but driven by their desires.
Hmm.
But yeah, I want there to be like a Elder Scrolls reading scroll moment. I want there to be that, but I'm not sure where to add it.
I think that's got to be before the family leave. I think that's the coolest moment of just this person, and it takes them from just being a person to that kind of next level of like they're acting on their ideas.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So what are we? When does this happen? So he goes like he sees these huge battlefields and starts like robbing corpses from these
Yeah, so
battlefields.
I think there's like an ancient magician, like some sort of spellcaster that died, and
Okay.
on their person was this scroll. And I think this person is like what we would think of as like we said earlier, the moth priests from
Wait.
Elder Scrolls.
I idea with this.
Mm-hmm.
What if the nation he's a part of invaded and took over this nation to find these ancient texts and scrolls, and he somehow found like a battle report within some of these corpses of them talking about these items that are said to like almost like a biblical principle, I guess, of like Adam and Eve, where like you eat the fruit of evil, you can see like if you eat from the tree of good and evil, you can see like all good and evil, like maybe something like that. And they were like searching for that power, and it led to this horrible war, never to be found, of course. Like he goes and researches, or like it's never to, or he finds it first. Like maybe or he steals it from the
Okay,
other
so
nation.
we're putting it in our world. So we're putting it in our world. So why don't we make it be this nation finds a historical record of this King Arthur character killing the gods with a powerful artifact and him dying with it, like being buried with it. And so they've been researching where was this King Arthur character buried. And they think they have an idea of where it is in this nation. So they snuck in originally, they were caught, and it blew into this whole-on war.
Okay, I like that. I don't know if I want it to be the King Arthur thing, though.
Okay.
I want it to be like some sort of ancient text or something that like will enlighten you or whatever.
So is that what the text is supposed to be?
Yeah, I'm thinking like.
So he finds the one thing that this war is over?
Yeah, or.
Okay, I think that could be really interesting if this bandit group that is in one of the nations actually recovered the
right.
I mean, maybe some. Okay, I think the nation that found it or was in the processing of recovering it isn't letting it known that they had it and let it get away. So people are still thinking that it's buried or hidden somewhere if they know about it.
Absolutely.
And so the party will eventually find out that, this bandit group cult has it.
Yeah, and they essentially are worshiping it now as this like these laws that should be passed down to society to maintain and keep a peaceful society. And these laws are, essentially giving giving into your primal desires and pleasures. Because that's what keeps...
Could this be a demonic thing? Like it's a demonic thing, and maybe
See, I do like this. Okay, I like this idea, and this could be interesting too, of it being a warlock patron, like a Book of Shadows. But what I'm thinking is that the more you give in to your desires and lusts, the more control this entity has over you until it's able to take control of you.
Okay.
I like that a lot. And so the main leader is a warlock, essentially now. So when they fight him, he's like a warlock and has cool warlock abilities and stuff.
Yeah, Hexblade.
But this entity is slowly taking over him too.
Mm-hmm. And I want it to be. I want there to. Okay. I kind of want it to be. So you know how we have them, the high-ranking members who've looked upon this thing have like wraps around their eyes.
Yes.
I want it to be kind of like the like there's almost like a darkness that's like like you see veins coming from underneath, like darkened veins coming from underneath the the coverings, the wrappings, and they spread and spread and spread. The more you have succumbed to this creature, whatever this demonic entity is.
I like that a lot. Yeah. Now, there's also a part of me that wants to say that the bandit leader the cult leader isn't succumbing to it, but he's forcing somebody else to succumb to it. So he's trying to make it a living, breathing entity. But I kind of like the idea of him succumbing to it more.
So that's okay. I kind of want. So we'll have. I think the
or
way
like he's trying to force his son.
No. So what I'm thinking is
cause the family
he knows what I'm. Okay, this is my idea. I think that he is so close to succumbing, and he realized that, and he realized he's losing control. So he has figured out a way to like delay it and not fall into any more sin, pretty much. But he continues to command this army. When the players inevitably go up against him in his moment of need and when he's about to die, he will finally allow it to overcome him just so he can win.
And then he like transforms.
Yeah, and he transforms mid-fight.
Yeah, that's a good one. What I want is I want him to. I kind of want it to be more of like a failing effort, though. Like he can't control his primal desires and urges because it's taken over him that much, but he's been able to delay it. Like he's been able to.
Yeah. And so, do you think he, partway through the fight, he has lost the strength to keep fighting?
Yes.
And he's like,
so the party. Yeah.
So what is that scene like? What do you see that scene like? Like how does him falling and unable to hold his back look like?
That's a really good question.
Because I'm trying to figure it out in my head, and I think that would be a really interesting thing to work out.
I'm not sure how that would what that would look like. I don't know what I'd want to do there. I mean, obviously you can't do like a sexual desire there. That just doesn't work in any way, shape, or form, and is very awkward. You can't do that. I thought about some sort of like drug that he takes, but I thought about him reading the scroll the rest of the way. Like you have to read the scroll the full way, and he hasn't read it the entire way yet. But it essentially gives you a desire to read it the whole time. So, but he's able to like fight it off until the very end of the combat, where he then just like opens the final bits of the scroll.
Yeah.
I thought about something like that might be cool. I thought about like as he's getting cut and slashed, like he enjoys it, and then the more you damage him, the more he's pleasured by it. I thought about that, which is really creepy.
Yeah, I'm very turned off by that idea.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if I like that either. I on a subset of that note, I thought about like when you like kill him or cut him down or almost kill him and cut him down, that's the one that like breaks him. Like he loses all sanity and control when that happens. I don't know. What are you thinking? Are you thinking anything?
Well,
I do like the idea of midway through the fight, like maybe two of his minions or something steps in and he starts to read the scroll, and so you have to get to him before he finishes reading the rest of the scroll. Like he finally gives into the desire to read the scroll, but like his son defends him or something.
Well, I was seeing it as like he's fighting and he gets super wounded, and he kind of like collapses to a knee and maybe even like begs the party like, stop, like don't do this. I don't know how much longer I can control this. And like if they keep fighting, then it will eventually take him over.
I kind of want him to like give in himself, like purposefully.
I thought, okay. That's what I had it in previously, but then you said that you didn't want that, so that's why we changed it to this.
Wait, what do you mean? Like
I originally had it where he gave in willingly, realizing he was going to lose, and then you said no. I want it to be more, him losing the strength to, and so.
Well, no. So I guess what I mean by that is there's a conflict in his mind between giving in completely versus still staying himself.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, he then purposely gives into it to not become himself. So he's fought this whole time to possibly maintain himself, and is unsure if he wants to give in fully or not. But then in the middle of this fight, when he's about to die, then he gives into it on purpose. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was having it be, in that he gave over control in the end to win the fight.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'm not sure what I want that to look like, though.
Okay. Well, we can come back to that. What does the rest of this cult look like? We have there's the main camps of each deadly sin.
So I'm stuck between wanting it to be one camp and stuck between it having separated into 7 camps or 8 camps or whatever, the main camp and then the 7 deadly sin camps. Like, I'm stuck between it being its own, like, makeshift bandit city where there's districts. Each district is devoted to a house of pleasantry. Which I like that, because I don't know if I want it to be so big that they have... I mean, I guess different bandit camps don't have to be huge anyways. But I like the idea of it being one city of... And even a city where the players can walk into and not necessarily be attacked right away either.
Well, maybe we go full-on Fable, and we make it so you can wear disguises. You find bandit disguises, and you can wear them and go in.
See, well, okay, I guess we have to ask this, though, first. Is this cult accepting of new people? Because I think they would be, right?
Yeah, but I think they're suspicious. I don't think they're immediately going to be like, yeah, come on in. But I do like the idea of a bandit city. And maybe they have to prove that they're a bandit somehow. Maybe by doing, like, highway robbery or something like that. Like, they have to prove...
Well, I think it'd be more along cult lines instead of bandit lines, where you have to prove that you can give in to some of these base desires.
Yeah. I just really worry about how to do that in the appropriate and game table friendly way.
Well,
that just sounds so bad in of itself.
Yeah, it is. I mean, depending on your frame of view, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, it definitely depends what type of game you're playing.
Yeah, but I think you could do it either way. I think you could... I mean, obviously you couldn't run this for, 10-year-olds or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, there's definitely always, in a 7 deadly sins type thing, there's always going to be some sort of, R material, such as drug use and stuff like that, and alcohol. But I'm trying to think of a good test that they would perform, or that they would... I mean, there's a part of me that doesn't even think they would. Like, there's a part of me that thinks that there would be a base part of this bandit camp that people can just go into to experience these... like, they run a whole entire operation and business, too, out of it.
What type of business?
Like, you could... I mean, all sorts of businesses of pleasantries, obviously. Drugs, anything. Like, that whole business.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, like, even fighting rings and a fighting pit. Maybe they put them in a fighting pit. You could do that, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's an entertainment, gambling den, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff. Like, I think there would be, like, obviously there's sections that you can't go into. Like, you couldn't go into,
You couldn't see the scroll.
Yeah, you couldn't see the scroll. You couldn't... I mean, heck, you probably couldn't even go into the main part of the camps. So, like, where the members actually stay. But there's like
a public area where it has, like... It's almost like a market stall, like a market...
exactly.
Where there's, like
a bazaar.
Stalls. Yeah, there's bazaar. It's like there's stalls for every different bandit camp.
Right. And how I picture them is they definitely want more people to experience and to, succumb to these desires. And the best way to do that is to expose them to these desires.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
their whole banditry is making these sometimes normally illegal things as accessible as possible to the people.
Yes. Yeah. Drugs in particular, that kind of stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I even like the idea of a giant fighting gambling ring that they do. Like, You know, like maybe the first that'd be a good one for a first opportunity to get in is you have to give in to this like gambling desire to make money on fights
I liked
and
the
maybe
idea
enter.
about a fighting ring of going into the base desire of just
Yep.
of your animalistic fighting tendencies.
Yeah. Yep. Of like brawling.
Yeah.
And then gambling if somebody doesn't, like in gambling ring around it as well. Like I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
that's a really
I
good.
think it's a both. I think it's you bet on yourself. You have to bet on yourself, and
Yeah.
depending on how
Yeah.
much you bet, and if you win, like both give you
Yeah,
like
you get the full
points
experience
with
because you
the.
gain money. Yeah, you
Mhm.
gain money, you gain the pleasure of victory, the pleasure of fighting and brawling.
Yeah, they're like trying to get you addicted on that addictive behavior of one. You won, which is just the roar of the crowd and the excitement of that is exciting in of itself, and the winning the money is also has its own addictive side to it.
Yeah, and then you could even like play into the drug aspect without having like explicit use where somebody comes in and they're like you can obviously tell they're in some sort of like full on rage mode. Um because they've taken some sort of,
Make them a barbarian
drug or
without
something.
actually making them a barbarian.
Yep. Yep,
Give them
exactly.
resistance to all these things, and
Yeah, exactly.
frenzied. Yeah, that's cool. Okay,
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So then you could even dive into that without like the players using drugs and whatever.
yeah,
you know? I mean, again, if your table is okay with that kind of stuff too, that is, like if they're okay with those type of concepts, like this has to be, you have to make sure that your table is okay with these concepts because
yeah.
these are, definitely not, G and PG rated concepts. So, but yeah, I mean, I love that. And then like they fight like this frenzied barbarian who's not a barbarian, but he's on like drugs essentially.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a really great, interesting thing we've added to this world.
Yeah, totally.
What level do you think this would like? Would this be like a level 10 issue they'd be dealing with, or like a level
5
6?
to 8,
5 to
probably.
8? Yeah.
Yeah, like low-ish,
Yeah, I
but
like
not,
5 to 8 because
goblins.
they're still powerful, but they're not. Yeah.
Yeah, like they have enough power to do stuff in the world, but they're not fighting goblins anymore, you know?
Yeah. Well, that's it for episode 41 of Dungeoneered.
Woo!
I don't think that's how the normal scream went, Aaron.
Nope. It was not meant to be, but it kind of half partially was.
It was. It partially was. Well, thank you for listening. And if you listen to us on any podcasting apps that have ratings and reviews, please let us know. And
Rate and review.
yeah, helps us bring people to the show. Yes, Emperor Palpatine,
Do it.
well,
Rate. Review us.
I am the Senate. Thank you for listening, and always remember to be the sharpest barrel in the bunch. See you next time.
See ya.